the justified accord take place in Berbera with 24 countries. So yeah, there are many reasons why China is meddling and having this proxy war with America in the Horn of Africa, a very strategic part of the world, because Somaliland sits on that Red Sea, belt that leads to the Bab el Mandeb Strait, where like more than nearly 40% of the global trade goes through that bottleneck. So it's very important security in that part of the world, for all of us, so that we can get our goods and that cost of things doesn't go up. We know the effect the Ukraine war, Russian war has had on global food prices and the pressures that it's caused on trade. So yeah, there is a war taking place at the moment in Somaliland, which is being sponsored and actively involved by Somalia. We have Somalian soldiers all over Somalia, whether in the north, in the Puntland region, in the capital city, Mogadishu. Soldiers are ending up in Somaliland. Even in Jubaland on the Kenyan border with Somalia, soldiers are coming from there. And we also have, unfortunately, as you well know, Getachew, which I've said to you many times, the Somali regional state in Ethiopia, Mustafa Akçar, has been a big pawnbroker in this whole thing as well. A lot of the weapons and Leo police, the police force in the Somali regional state, have been found in Somaliland. So yes, this is a direct conflagration of our neighbors on our territorial integrity. You know what I mean? Just because Somaliland is not a recognized country, by the way, does not mean that you can meddle into Somaliland's political and social affairs, right? That's an article in the Montevideo Convention that a country's political and legal status is independent of whether it's recognized, right? So the fact that Somaliland is not recognized or not is neither here or there. The fact that the peace and stability is being rather, shaken up is a big problem in the Horn of Africa, and that should really be a wake up call for the rest of the world, right? It's for the rest of the world, and so yeah, the Chinese have been trying to have meetings with Somaliland presidents, and officials have been there. They even created a China envoy to the Horn of Africa to specifically directly engage with the countries in the Horn and specifically Somaliland, and China already owns or has debts from many of the countries neighboring to Somaliland, including Djibouti on our western border. Obviously, the Chinese have a huge influence in Ethiopia. They've spent like hundreds of millions of dollars of developing economic development and social development in Ethiopia. They also have a big base and an influence in Somalia, Mogadishu, which is our third country that we share a border with. So they're not happy that Somaliland is that missing jigsaw puzzle that will mean that China can control basically that Red Sea, the Indian Ocean, and that South China Sea. And that's where the new war is taking place. This proxy war is taking place, and that's why the Americans created this IGAD alliance, the Indo-Pacific alliance with countries in the Indian and Pacific Ocean to kind of basically counteract China's influence in the South China Sea and the pressure that it's placing on some of its neighboring countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Australia, by the way, you'd be surprised, is also struggling with China as well, geopolitically, amongst other countries as well. So yeah, there is reasons to believe that China is behind this proxy war that is taking place. There is evidence that Chinese weapons have been found on mainland Somaliland at the moment, although that's not been made available. But yeah, there is a lot of reasons to suspect that the Chinese have got their fingers all over this for many reasons. I'll share Michael Rubin's article in case you guys have not read it. A very compelling argument. Michael Rubin of AEI basically was lambasting the American U.S. State Department for their kind of nonchalant approach to Somaliland and the Horn of Africa and what's going on. The Americans know exactly what's going on in Somaliland. They've got a big base U.S. African Command and the Combined Joint Task Force in Djibouti next door. And so they're always checking and flying, drones across the country. And so they know full well what is going on, who's causing who's in the country, who's entering and what not. So there's none of this like propaganda that can be spread. The Americans specifically know know exactly what's going on. But yeah, so they're waiting for us to kind of provide necessary information, to the international community of these Somalian armed forces, from Mogadishu, from Garowe, from Jubaland, that are ending up in Somaliland. That should not be happening, right? No matter what, right? And the real reason that this problem is happening, Getachew, is because of a problem that affects not only Somaliland but also the wider Horn and the stability of the wider Horn. And it's this ideology based on the tribe called political Darodism. Political Darodism. So Darods are a tribe; they're a minority in across the East Africa. So, for example, Mustafa Akbar is of the Darod clan, and they're a minority in the Somali regional state. There are 38 tribes that live in Somali tribes that live in the regional state, and the the Darods are a minority. They're not a majority, right? But yet they have the power in the Somali regional state, and that is a problem, right? And also the same thing in Somaliland as well. We have the the prime minister in Somalia, who happens to be from Gode, or I think he's from Gabri Dahab. Again in the Ogaden region, right? He's an Ogadenian. He's not a Somalian. He's a Somali, but he's not from Somalia. So we have a lot of problems. Again, the Darods are the minority in Somalia as well, but yet they're causing a huge problem both in Puntland and in Jubaland, where they are the president. But they are, the minorities in those territories. In Jubaland, the Hawiyas are the majority, but yet we have Ahmed Madobe, who's still in power after 12 years. By force, he's got the control of Jubaland, and he's been killing people and local, Hawiya tribes as well. And the same thing is in Puntland. So yeah, the problem is stemming from this ideology that does not believe in democracy, because Darods cannot benefit from democracy, because if one man, one vote happens in Somalia, you get the problem because they will be out of office. The Hawiyas and other majority clans will always be in power, right? And that's the same thing, and that's what's fueling this war. They're trying to basically carve out, the eastern part of the country where Darods have lived with us and have lived with us for a long time. They're our brothers. They're Somaliland citizens. We've married with them and intermarried with them. We've lived together. They've been part of the Somaliland territory since the British protectorate days of 1884. And so, yeah, the Darods now have kind of got this new agenda that they are trying to basically create a Darod state. So they want to try and carve out, which is never going to happen. It will never happen, because the Darods are not the only clans that live in the eastern part of Somaliland. They share the land with the Isaq, the majority clans, and other clans as well, right? And so what they want to do is they want to carve that out so they can put that into Somalia under the federal state system, and therefore they can have more control in Somalia, because they have Puntland and Jubaland, which is 2 states, and then their other 3 states is controlled by Hawiyas, the majority clan in Somalia. So what they want to do is to make their influence stronger, is they want to carve out these other, provinces and add them to Somalia and stuff like that, which will never happen. It's just a dream. But this is what we're dealing with, political Darodism. I'll be writing an article on this very soon, Getachew, about the political Darodism and why it's a problem in the Horn of Africa. It's something that needs to be discussed. It's something that needs to be addressed. And I'll explain to you using historical facts since 1960, and even slightly before that, during the SYL days, why political Darodism has been a bane and a problem for Somali-speaking people in the region and the Somali-speaking countries, but also for Ethiopia. In fact, the war that happened in 1977, that Siad Barre unilaterally waged against Ethiopia, which caused millions of deaths and damage, all right, to the Somali regional state, was done in the name of political Darodism. It was not done in the name of Somalis or what. It was done in political Darodism. It was using the sentiment of the political Darodism. And that's what we are facing today in 2023. So I hope that kind of explains it and summarized kind of what are the backdrop of what's going on to this conflict.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks a lot, Dr. IQ, with your nice analysis. It makes totally sense now to me. Of course, China is going to be involved if Musa Bihi is going to recognize Taiwan. Of course, they're going to try to, blackball them, or blackmail them to to make sure that they will not be, recognized. Yeah, that makes totally sense. And I hope you're gonna send me that article when it's finished, Doctor. I would appreciate that. Thanks a lot,
Yeah, I will
man.
do. It will be published over the Twitter. But just a reference, Somaliland did not recognize Taiwan. That's not the reason. We're just having a relationship with Taiwan, just like the other multitude of countries, that have a relationship with Taiwan. So we're not even like a recognized country, so to speak, right? In terms of
Oh, I see.
whatever. So and Taiwan is not legally a country either, as well, right? It's not even an autonomous region. It's the people's what is it called? The POC or the P? Yeah, sorry. Anyway, so basically, they're not looking for recognition. Neither we're just having a relationship, just like Taiwan has a relationship with many other countries, right? But obviously, China wants to punish people that has a relationship with Taiwan. So, anyways, back to you. I'll put up Michael Rubin's article at the top for you to see, anyway, so you guys can see that.
Absolutely.
That's a very important, really well written article.
Please do so. Thank you, Doctor. Also, I have an update. About Ato Ahmed. You can see it in maybe some of you guys saw it in the Jumbotron. Ato Ahmed has been suspended again. Like, he opened the space not too long ago, and he couldn't open it any longer. I sent him this link. I was like, what the hell is going on? I checked it, and it looks like his account is suspended again. So very unfortunate. Our dear brother. I'm gonna have to give him one of my fake accounts now. So maybe
that's not gonna change anything. This is what, fifth time he's been suspended now, right? Fifth time he's been suspended, or fourth time. I don't know when he has been suspended. Yeah, it's been multiple times.
How come all these guys? Man, he must have a lot of haters. I'm just happy, people don't know his real name. Oh man, where he lives and stuff, because wow, they're obsessed with him.
Yeah, I've just shared at the Jumbotron, by the way, Getacho. So have a share, read it.
Oh yeah, sure.
Really good article.
Michael Rubin.
Michael Rubin of AEI, policy think tank in America. It's a conservative think tank that influences a lot of America's policies on a multitude of issues, including foreign policy. So have a read of his article. Very interesting article, nonetheless.
Interesting.
Yeah. But like I said, we don't have any evidence, by the way. I've not said at any point that China is involved. I'm just saying that it could be, and it's plausible. And I was just giving you kind of some of the reasons as to why China might be involved. But there aren't any, there isn't a smoking gun to say, like, oh, China is involved. No, I've not said that. And I hope that's just clear for the record.
No, absolutely. Thanks a lot, Doctor. Really, really appreciate it, brother, man. I'm going to give the mic to Shadia. Go ahead, please, Shadia.
Yes, hi there, Gadache and everybody. I just wanted to add my 2 cents. I don't think it's quite fitting to say it's China's first proxy war in Africa, because that's more based on speculation, if anything. Like, I'm from Somaliland, for instance, but I would say you can openly say that Somalia is waging war against Somaliland. I think that's more fitting, because that's what we see. Everything else is more speculation, it's just, and the thing is, historically, US and China always had their, they have their own little issues. So that's more of, that's just, again, we're speculating. So we don't want to go that far into it. What I could say is, Somaliland basically is open to do business with anybody and everybody, right? So I don't think it's fitting, honestly. I can say Somalia, on the other hand, is actually at war with Somaliland. So if you could please change the title to that, I would be more than welcome to discuss. But as I don't think China right now, we don't have any evidence that China is directly involved. And I don't think it's correct to title that, because it's just going to cause misinformation and disinformation. And we don't want that. We don't want to rock the boat, without any. Getache.
Hello, Shadia. Can you hear us? Guys, can you still hear her?
I can hear you. I can't hear Shadia.
You guys can't hear me?
Yeah, now we hear you again.
Oh, okay,
thanks. Yeah.
Thank you. Did you hear what I said though? Did you?
Yeah, I think the most of it I catched, I
Okay.
believe.
Okay.
About the title, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm gonna be fair with you. It was not my title. Ato Ahmed, he sent me this title because he couldn't open no spaces, and now I've checked his account again, and it looks like he's banned again. But no, thanks for your suggestion, sister. I'm gonna change it right away, and maybe we can just like in honor Ato Ahmed, we can ask like China evolved question mark. But I'm gonna do uh, Somalia officially attacked Somaliland. We can do something like that. Does that make sense? Yeah, Shad.
Yeah, that makes sense because we
Yeah,
have all the evidence to,
yeah,
we have
that
evidence for
makes
that.
yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. No, definitely. I'm gonna adjust the title for sure. Okay, good. Um, So I'm gonna ask some of you guys some questions um, related to. Shout out to my brother LLTG. Nice to see you, man. LLTG. Yeah, about Somaliland. It's been a very stable country for like 30 years plus, and I know that 15 years ago Ilasanod, similar events happened, right? Not as big scale as now, but they were doing some, questionable stuff in the past 15 years ago. Um, can somebody inform me how that issue was resolved 15 years ago, or how could it be that? That a country like Somaliland, who's very, very aware of their capabilities to secure their country. I mean, Al Shabaab doesn't dare to step a feet inside Somaliland, you know, because they know they're going to be dealt with hard consequences. Um, how is it that after 50 years they try to do it again, and how was it resolved the last time? If somebody has any knowledge about that, I would highly appreciate it, about the like last time Lhasa Node was being attacked.
Yeah, so I'll try and answer that. Yeah, so Las Anod basically prior to 2007 was not under Somaliland government's control, as you can imagine. A large part of it was kind of lawless, and the government did not reach that far into the territory. So what used to happen is Somalian forces or Somalian local government from the Puntland region would kind of, control the area and kind of extort local tribes, their fellow cousins, people they share a similarity with, and kind of, bully them and ransom for security and stuff of that nature. And so what happened is the local community and the tribes used to have constant fighting and kind of, troubles in the area. And so they basically came to Hargeisa, some of the senior members, including the Garad, the current Garad, who, and the general who's actually now controlling Las Anod, and said, "Listen, guys, we want to be part of Somaliland. Can you guys give us the security and whatnot?" And so Somaliland forces basically went into the region and kind of pushed out all foreign entities and secured basically its border. And so Las Anod became under. I mean, it was already secure the border, but Las Anod and other pockets was really not under government control. And so, yeah, for the last 15 years now, since 2007, there has been nothing but peace, stability, development in Las Anod. You can see that with the pictures, in terms of the development from 2007 right through to 2015 to 2023 today, how the city has even grown in size, the development, the schools, the hospitals, the amount of infrastructure development that's gone on in just over a decade, right? So yeah, I mean, there was always problems in the local community, by the way, in the area. So even amongst the community, even under Somaliland's control, there were deaths that would happen and tribes that would kind of seek revenge on each other. But for the most part, it was relatively peace. The people were happy that they were under Somaliland forces. They didn't have the rogue elements from Puntland kind of extorting them and ransoming their freedom. And so, yeah, things have been well. So fast forward to 2023. Why is there, or at least December 2022, last year, when this whole crisis happened? What happened? Well, something interesting happened. There was a death of a political opponent, a political opposition member in government, right? Opposition member who happens to be from Las Anod was killed in broad daylight or in the evenings after prayers, evening prayers, and that basically sent shockwaves. That wasn't the only killing, by the way, that happened. There's been killings that happened before that in October. People, high-ranking officials were getting killed, and it was kind of problematic. And we have evidence, and there are recordings from Puntland saying anybody that works with the Somaliland forces or the Somaliland government is basically, they use this term called horgal, which basically means their blood is halal. Like you should kill them. They're no longer our people. And because why would and so we have those evidences, right? But the story that was then spun, and the last death of a high prominent figure, Abdi Fattah Hadrawi, was that the Somaliland government was killing its own government officials, which would sound bizarre. Why would Somaliland government kill its own government officials? People that are working with the government, working with the local community to bring about peace and security and stability and all that good stuff for the region. Why would they just kind of, cause kill people, basically? Anyway, so we know that the evidence is overwhelming that Puntland parliamentarians, we even have videos of parliamentarians, and going back as far back as 2018 and 2017, actually, saying, listen, kill these people that work for the thing. They are traitors to the Darod clan, blah, blah, blah. Their blood is halal. Do you understand? So that's what's happened. And so the death in December last year basically caused some mass riots and huge problems. But really, and that was kind of jumped upon by external forces, including Somalia and other people. And there was a conference, by the way, that took place in Jigjiga, in the capital of the Somali regional state, basically that brought together very nefarious actors, including Garads that are now today causing this conflict to kind of continue and get worse as the days go by. With the Somali Prime Minister Hamza Barry was also there. Obviously, it was held in Jigjiga under Mustafa Akchar's watch. And we had genocideers like General Morgan from Puntland arrived there. Other genocideers that live in Dagahbur area and Harshin, people like General Siad Daoud, who's also another war criminal, been named specifically for his involvement in the Isaq genocide, were at this event, including the advisor to the president, Hassan Sheikh, the current president, Hassan Sheikh, Badio. Right, so a lot of people were at this event, and basically the paper that came out of this meeting in December, this Jigjiga conference, was to basically cause, and it's written, you can get that for yourself, to basically carve out this SSC region and to kind of basically cause civil war and unrest in the region. That's what's happened, right? So a lot of things has happened since December, with the killing of this high-ranking opposition government official, to the Jigjiga conference, to obviously the Somaliland naming or being named as part of the NDAA, the American National Defense Act, which is I think it's $1 trillion investment that America makes globally. And so America specifically named Somaliland as one of its partners, separate entity from Somalia. And so obviously elements in Somalia, Hassan Sheikh himself was not happy. He was in the US at the time when he was meeting, like Abiy Ahmed, for the US African Leaders Summit. He was trying to say and engage President Biden and other, Department of Defense to basically cut these ties with Somaliland, that you're undermining, blah, 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 whatever. Do you know what I mean? And so what that has meant is rogue elements have, since that Jigjiga conference, basically conflagrated a conflict in the region of Somaliland. And Somalia is fully engaged, is fully behind this. There might be other people that support Somalia, but at the moment we have the evidences. They're all swirling around on social media. Our government have the weapons that have been caught, the prisoners of wars. We see the paraphernalia and the insignia, the clothing items, that they're from Puntland Security Forces, that they're from Jubaland, that they're from Mogadishu. And they're coming from all over. And we even had Leo Police, which caused a big problem between Somaliland and Ethiopia, diplomatic problem, because it's like, why did this conference happen in Jigjiga? And secondly, why is the Leo police ending up, which is Mustafa Aksha, local police in the Somali regional state, ending up in Somaliland? And they're entering through Buhodle, right? The Buhodle, the part of the region, because Buhodle region in Somaliland, a third of it is in Ethiopia, and like 70% is in Somaliland. And it's an area that is not controlled or manned. And so a lot of Leo police and Ogadennians, in the name of Darodism, again, remember I told you, political Darodism, this is what's going on. So Darods from Puntland, Darods from the Somali regional state, Darods from Jubaland in the thingy against South Somalia, Darods in the form of even in Kenya that live called for this kind of conflict against Somaliland. We had sitting parliamentarians in the Ethiopian in Addis Ababa in the federal government. We had a woman named Zamzam Ahmed come on a Twitter space to support this, which was rather unfortunate. Zamzam Ahmed is an Ogadennian Darod woman sitting in Addis Ababa calling for war in Somaliland on a Twitter space. That is crazy. We also had a sitting Kenyan parliamentarian who also is a Darod, right? Farah Maalim called for war and suicide bombings live on the thing, recorded. We have the recordings, right? And then we also have like Puntland. We saw what the Puntland law and others say as well. So yeah, there is a lot of things and a backdrop to what's going on here. It's very complicated, but it's not something that is just started just now, but rather it's come from a long place. Like I said, it's come from this political Darodism ideology, and it started with the previous government before this Hassan Sheikh regime, Farmajo, Farmajo, who also is from the Darod clan. They've been planning this for good number of years to kind of create instability in Somaliland, to destroy Somaliland, to weaken Somaliland, but also strengthen Darodism, because they don't believe in nation states. Political Darodism does not believe in nation states. It does not believe in peace and democracy and stability, but rather it believes in the superiority of these Darod clans at the expense of even other Somalis, other Muslims, and also other non-Muslims. That's why they say the things that they do about Amharas, and that we have a war with Amharas and Ethiopians and non-Muslims and things like that nature as well. So there's a lot of factors at play here, and it's a very interesting, concerning time that we are going through. No doubt other state actors will be getting involved, but at the moment it's Somalia. And by the way, so if you can, sorry Getachew, I know I'm telling you to change the title, but Puntland is a region of Somalia, right? So really it's Somalia that's waging war on Somaliland. It's not a region it's not just exclusive to Puntland. We have Jubaland forces, Ahmed Madobe forces, we have forces, we had the former head of the police force, Hajar from Mogadishu. We also have the
Doctor. Didn't they declare a little bit of independence earlier this month?
No,
or
Puntland is not
mistaken?
independent, and it's never been independent. Will never be independent because and the reason Puntland was created, by the way, Getachew, is created in 1997 to undermine Somaliland. That was it. If you go back to the history, Puntland was created as a way to undermine Somaliland, and so that's what the reality is. So, but yeah, Puntland is kind of seen as the mother state of the federal system that they have in Somalia, and it has a huge power and presence, and it puts a lot of pressure on the federal government, even though it does not kind of contribute financially in other ways. But it's causing a security risk in the region, a security concern. A lot of the weapons that get smuggled into the Horn of Africa, as I've told you before, through the UN reports, is coming through Bosaso, through Puntland. So yeah, Puntland kind of wants to be an independent state, behaves like an independent state, but for sure is not an independent state, cannot be an independent state, is a federal member state of Somalia, has been, is, will always be as well. So yeah, so definitely not, it's not, but yeah, they did say we will secede. They did threaten, I think there was some issue diplomatically, internally, but nothing really, they cannot secede because they're a beggar state in the federal government system, and they require a lot of, they get a lot of aid, and millions of aid from Mogadishu tax-funded payers. So that's that. So yeah, Puntland is not a state, it's never been, but they're aggressive, and they have been aggressive. We've had skirmishes with them in 2019 in the Tuqaraq region, 2018 I think we had in other regions on the border between Somaliland and Somalia. So yeah, we have our fair share. They're aggressing, and so it may well come to a time where for Somaliland to live in peace and security, it may have to attack Garowe and literally take the war, because we cannot always be taking this backstep where Puntland and northern Somalia forces are always ending up in Somaliland, right? And they need to know that you need to respect the border, regardless of the tribes that live on the other side of the border. As you well know, Getajo, my tribe lives, members of the South Clan live in the Hoden Reserve area for the vast amount of, you know what I mean? Just like other Somaliland tribes, the Gadabusi, the Samaron, the Isas, same with these Darod, they also live in the Hoden Reserve area. And so what we need to teach them, and we are in the process of teaching them, is that you need to respect international borders, as inherited from post-colonialism. You can't create a new state because that will cause a huge problem, right? You can't create, and you certainly can't create a state based on a clan. You can't create a clan-based system, country based on a clan, because that's not how countries work. Anyways, I've blabbered on for too much. I hope I've kind of opened your eyes, Getachew.
No, absolutely. Thanks a lot, Doctor. I changed the title as well, so thanks for that. Also, before I ask something, maybe my whole call is gonna say something. But another thing I wanna inform you guys is that the not Somali region state, actually the entire, all the regional states of Ethiopia are gonna dissolve their ethnic militias. So they will, I think for Somaliland it's gonna be nice because you will have less interference, and a little bit of stress off your shoulders. I hope that could help Somaliland as well, and they're gonna do it not very fast, but slowly but surely they're gonna integrate into the reserve. Reserves of the ENDF, Ethiopian National Defense Forces. That way, they're not going to be, able to just cross borders and handle some business. It's going to be impossible to do so. So I hope that can, that's a little bit of a positive news for Somaliland. Just wanted to announce that.
That's good for all of us, by the way, for the region. Sorry to cut in the Getachew, because it's not just also good for Somaliland, because Somaliland it's also good for Ethiopia as well. It's not right that you have local militias and police force like the Leo in the Somali regional state killing other Somalis. They're killing other Somalis, first of all. Forget, other non-Somalis. They kill other Somalis. They're taking their land. They are, taking their livestock. They also, there is a huge problem in terms of lack of equitable distribution of regional funds, of the federal, the regional funds, right? So the funds from Jigjiga does not get allocated into, for example, Hoden Reserve area, where the largest population in the Somali regional state reside, right? It's not. They're getting it into these little small villages and communities that, that favor Mustafa Akçar's tribe, right? And so the Leo police or the local police is used as kind of like a militia that works for the local government to kind of put pressure on local people, on elders, to kind of stay in line, to toe the line, and also kind of, and it's not just them, by the way, it's also the opposition police as well. The OLNF are also engaged in this as well. So they kind of play this kind of, we are good, but they are also committing the crimes as well. So yeah, it's definitely good for Somaliland, but it's also good for Ethiopia because we share the largest border together. The Somali-Ethiopian border is like, I think, 800 kilometers? It's a rather long border.
Very long.
Yeah, so security is super important. If something happens in Somaliland, it causes a problem in Ethiopia. Similarly, if there's a problem in Ethiopia, it causes a problem in Somalia, and that affects, for example, our trade routes and our, security relationship. Because we got the. By the way, I don't know if you're aware, but the Berbera Free Zone will be opening up very shortly. With Berbera and things coming from Berbera into Ethiopia. So we hope that will be protected and security, and so security is of utmost importance in the region. So yeah, good news. The local militia forces across Ethiopia will be dissolved and be incorporated into the ENDF. So yeah, I welcome that.
Yeah, not only with you're right. It's also very good for Ethiopia because you also have them we have a lot of clashes we hear between the Afari and Somali regional states. It's just these ethnic militias are just out of hand, and that's going to be, like you said, also very beneficial to Ethiopia itself, for the peoples, for the innocent civilians.
Yeah, just on this Afar reason, I'm not going to take too much time. I'll go down anyway. But this Afar problem that's just happened with the Isas, the Somali Isas that live in the border in the city region. Again, this is a problem that's just been conflagrated and started by Mustafa Akçar, right? The Isas were, they have a good relationship or had a good relationship. That's why they got their region with Mustafa Akçar, right, and the ONLF. But now that they are no longer useful, Mustafa Akçar doesn't see them as useful. He's basically causing a conflict with the Afars. And so he's now sponsoring the Afars, giving them the weapons to Afar. And he's creating a confederation, by the way, with the Afars and saying the Afars are now part of this quote-unquote Darod confederation. Remember, the Darod is not a natural clan. It's a confederation of many other clans that they've kind of incorporated and subsumed to kind of get political leverage, you know what I mean, and power. So yeah, the Afars now are kind of part of this kind of Darod clan, so to speak. And so he's trying to, wipe out oppositions like the Isas, who aligned with Mustafa Akçar and the previous leaders to kind of carve out their own little city in the, the city region in, Dir Deba area. But yeah, just wanted to say that though. I'll go down. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Dr. IQ, for your contribution and your insights. I truly appreciate it, brother. Yeah, my co-host wants to say something, I believe. Go ahead, co-host Gabo.
Good morning. So if you guys share this space so that we can drive more people to it, just keep sharing this space and then we will keep talking about these important matters. So that's all I wanted to say for now, Gage. So I will toss the mic back to who's next? The Mr. Farax. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Everything was said by Dr. IQ. I just wanted to add something, which is...
Let me quickly apologize and miss Max. Go ahead.
It's okay. It happens more than you think. Trust me.
This is what happened when you just wake up and join the space. And I'll blame this to Dr. IQ. Okay. So he just woke me up. All right, all good.
Trust me, friends who know me in person does the same mistake. I think I need to retype my name or something. I just wanted to, I think everything was said by Dr. IQ and very, very detailed, but I want the Ethiopian community to pay attention to one thing. Yesterday or this week, I don't actually know the exact date, when the Ministry of Interior in Somaliland was talking, there's one aspect of it is tribal. And by the way, this is the first time in history tribal militia and Al-Shabaab have become friends. So this itself is making history. I just need everybody to make a note of that. One. Secondly, is that what they wanted to do was connect what is known as the mountains, Galgala Mountains in Puntland, and another set of mountains in the Somali region in Ethiopia. So this also was a terrorist threat to Ethiopia. And it still is, by the way. Hence why when Somaliland complained about the border to Ethiopia, I don't know if you guys remember last week, actually some of the Ethiopian generals were having a meeting with our generals and the border has been closed. They strengthened their cooperation. The reason Somaliland and Ethiopia, even in Meles Zenawi's time, had such a strong link, forget recognition, we're fine without it. We've been surviving for 30 plus years. We will survive for hundreds of years to come. Recognition should not be the first thing we discuss, is the fact that Somaliland being there, I don't know if anybody saw the article that was done by the foreign minister when he said that Somaliland is a buffer zone for Ethiopia. That is true. Hence what explains why Meles Zenawi was so invested. And actually Ethiopian government in general was so invested in Somaliland is we are a buffer zone. If Somaliland is not looking after those borders, God knows what could happen, terrorism-wise. So the Ethiopian public and government, and I'm so glad that once they found out what has been done by the Somali region leadership, that Ethiopia took a swift decision in terms of protecting the border, in terms of starting cooperation conversations with our generals and military. It shows how important it is from a security aspect, right? So whatever is happening now, I mean, yes, there is this tribal aspect, and I won't go back to it. I know Dr. IQ have said very, very detailed explanation. But terrorism aspect is something we don't only need to worry about, but we need to pay attention to. If Somaliland was not there as a buffer zone, connecting these people who are ill-informed about Deen al-Islam and who are willing to do ungodly things under the name of Islam would actually find a very easy link to Ethiopia as well. So yeah, I just wanted to add that point that this is not only a cooperation because we're of what's happening in the war, but this is a anti-terrorism cooperation between the two countries as well. So I won't hold up the link, but I just wanted to add that. Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Gecho, let me just add one more thing. And this region has always been volatile, right? There's always that underneath clients and ethnic politics, right? So there's a lot going on in Ethiopia. And yesterday, I think the thing that we've been working on, Jarso get the statehood, and there's also some skirmish between Oromia and Somaliland. We know what's going on in the Horn Reserve area. So there's a few people here who are very versed about this. In this kind of conversation is not just quote unquote the sake of having a conversation. This conversation is making actually a change underground, right? Some of you know that when we start the Jarso question, now Jarso is getting, at least they can have their own liaison. So for sure, you guys just bear in mind that there are people who can make that change in Ethiopian case, in Somaliland case, in our own rabbit hole issue. So bear that in mind. Let's make it as genuine as we can possibly be, so that we can create an alliance, help each other, and in all of that. But authenticity is an important, right? We know. I mean, I've always talked about Somaliland 500 history in this space, and people told me that I sided with them. And every time I talked about something, and the other will accuse me something else. All we want is peace, respecting statehood, nation building, and all of that. So so I just wanted to put that out, and I will toss the mic back to Gage. If not, Dr. IQ.
No, absolutely. I agree with what you said, Gabbo. We're natural allies, like a lot of people say. This is not just speculations, but I mean, Hargeisa is closer to Addis than Mogadishu. I mean, that could say a lot, So no, absolutely. I'm gonna ask other listeners to grab the mic and inform us more about how you feel about the Puntlands, Somalia's Puntland officially attacking a peaceful country that was actually not into fighting first place, and why this would be the case now. I believe this was very strategically planned. This is not something that happened by accident. They've been studying the Tigray War. They took some elements of that, like the genocide, hashtag genocide campaign. I think it's truly very well taught. Before they started, it was really yes.
Sorry to interrupt you before we move on to Dr. IQ. What is the point of view of the Ethiopian public when it comes to what's happening in Somaliland now? Like, what kind of image is being put out there to the Ethiopian public? If you could give us a little bit of update.
Absolutely. Well, in the mainstream media of Ethiopia, they're still, thinking that they're just still focused on Tigray region, to be honest, and of potential, ways that these zombies might come back, and they're really they've talked about it very, 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 very rarely, and when they talk about it, it's just that there is a conflict over there. They also said that they mentioned it happened 15 years ago, but it's not really detailed. I think they're still focusing a lot on. We come from a fresh war, so this peace agreement, if that's being kept, that's what they're really focusing on. Mrs. Farah, I'm sorry that I can give you much more details about it.
I can add a couple of things for sure that the Ethiopians' political stakeholders, their money at this point, right? are following this development very closely. That I can tell you with my personal experience. So people are very aware. They might not be involved, as some party need them, or they're not being playing an active roles, but they're certainly up to date with what's going on over there. Remember, majority of Somaliland defense force are trained in Ethiopia, if not all. So this can kind of tell you the situation in the background. I'll give the mic back to Dr. IQ. We answer your question, but that's all I know at least.
Yeah, thank you.
And as you know, Ethiopia is always some news, right? If it's not war, it's gonna be famine. If it's not famine, it's gonna be this or that. So the political news is mostly like focused on Ethiopia from the news channels that I've seen. But Gabo,
But what I really appreciate, guys, is that even from the few people that I do know, is that they always look at it as, okay, we know Somaliland to be peaceful. When we say, look, this is a terrorism attack combined with clan militia from Somalia, there isn't a lot of debate they put up. They'd be like, yeah, we get it. And what I appreciate is the cooperation of all of these many years has not been corrupted because of what the Somali region government did. I really appreciate that. From the little, that I know and the few people I'm in touch with, is that they're very kind of open-minded and they haven't let what is happening in Somali region, the fact that these meetings took place, they didn't know that. I personally don't think, the federal government had any idea. Personally, I don't believe that, because if they did, I think something would have been done. So I'm really glad, at least again from the little that I know, that it is a very receptive environment and they kind of want to hear what's going on, but then fully believe that, okay, they wouldn't wage war. And if they say they're being attacked by terrorists, then they're being attacked by terrorists. So yeah, I'm glad that that support is still there.
Yes, Mr. Farax. Mrs. Farax. Dr. IQ, I think he left already. I think he just forgot to unraise his hand.
No, I just wanted to
Is
add
that
something
true?
quickly, Getachew,
Yes.
about just the last point about this SSE problem. Remember, this SSE problem is based on like tribal borders, right? That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to create tribal borders in the 21st century. So this SSE problem, by the way, won't just be a problem for Somaliland. If it is to succeed as well, it will come to Ethiopia and the Somali regional state, because these guys believe that provinces like Doror and Obarre and stuff like that, or like large swathes of the Somali regional state, should be incorporated into this kind of SSE region along like clan lines, even though Darods are not the only clan that live in SSE, in the so-called SSE in Somaliland, but also the same thing in like Doror and these other regions and Obarre. They're not the only people that live there. In fact, they live there, but they share the land with other tribes. And if anything, they're a minority, just like the Darods are a minority in the eastern part of Somaliland. This is the issue. This is the issue that is causing all of this conflict. They don't like that they are a minority, these Darods, and they're like, listen, what do we need to do? And so this is their solution of using violence and whatever. So that's that. So I've just shared, make it clear that, it is in no uncertain terms that Somalia is behind this war. It's Somalian militia, Somalian soldiers, Somalian, terrorists that have come from Somalia, from Bosaso to Galkayo to all the way to Jubaland. They're coming from all over the country, right? And they're entering into Somalia. Sometimes they're coming through the border that we share with northern Somalia. And at other times they're coming through the Ethiopian border, through Bohol and other parts that are not manned properly as well. So that's that. So I just wanted to let you know that SSE is a big problem for Ethiopia because they will claim land in Ethiopia.
Absolutely.
Under this
they will
tribal,
do that.
Yeah.
No, Dr. IQ, I 100% agree, because the current president of Somalia Republic, Hassan Sheikh Mohammed, he used to have very close ties with TPLF. And I think that's why also Ethiopians, like the federal government at this moment, they are very alert, what's going on in Somaliland, and they really want to help because look how they could do. They could do the same Siad Barre type of stuff, Siad Barre was clearly working with the TPLF and the Shabia and other militias who were anti-Ethiopia, and the same is history could repeat itself. No, Hassan Sheikh Mohammed can be the
So,
second. Yeah, yes.
you
Sister.
guys need to worry about something very, very big though. Even if the whole clans come together, Somalia can handle this. And besides, tribal issues is the African delicacy. It's fine. What you people need to now worry about is the fact that the clan can now recruit terrorism. This is the first time I have ever seen clan militia side by side with terrorists. Now the game is different. It's no longer such and such tribe want to unite. It's such and such tribe can now convince people that are known as international terrorists to wage a war. So it's no longer a tribal thing, right? That could be disputed, that could be handled, that could be talked over. What now Ethiopia needs to worry about it is no longer going to be a tribal thing. It is going to be tribal plus terrorists. And how they're able to work side by side, I have no idea. But we have I would hate to call it, but a special level of issues now. As soon as terrorists can fight side by side with clan militia, it is now very, very dangerous. Especially, this could happen anywhere else, including Ethiopia, including Djibouti. It could happen anywhere else. So, yeah, I think the issues have kind of gained. It kind of took a turn for more horrible, more dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Absolutely agree, Mrs. Farah. And I think the two nations have they have to work much closer. I know they work very close together, and I'm talking about Ethiopia and Somaliland, but they have to renew the ties again, be even closer than TPLF, was trying to be with Somaliland, and to fight this type of attacks in the future and how we can prevent it. Very, very important. I think that the Somaliland government, I don't know if they have made trips to Ethiopia for some like a visit days. They should definitely do that, and especially now Musebi, he should send his representatives to look for possible ways, because this could escalate very fast, very, very fast. And I think it's kind of worrying why the mainstream media in Ethiopia, from the medias that I watch, haven't talked about it this much. Of course, we have a lot on our hands, on our plate right now, but this should be very, very one of the top things that should be discussed in the news. As far as the way how it was attacked, I think they attacked a military base as well, right? Now it's in Somaliland, and the same did TPLF did, the same way TPLF did. They're talking about genocide, hashtags like SSC genocide, same stuff that this TPLF supporters were doing. A lot of similarities, a lot of it, and Somaliland should now look, for ways how we did it, what we did wrong. They should analyze what Ethiopia did wrong, and how you guys can fix it, faster before it escalates even more. And therefore, that's why I think they should send representatives to Addis Ababa to discuss it, and to see for possible ways to fix it as soon as possible before more innocent blood get lost. Dr. IQ, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, we had senior ranking officials, by the way, of the ENDF come to Hargeisa a couple of weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, given our cordial relationship. and a lot of Somaliland forces get trained in Addis Ababa and things of that nature. And we have joint military training sessions, etc. We had a visit recently as well. So I hope they learn and they will learn. We do have a current sitting ambassador in Addis Ababa, Somaliland representative, just like also Ethiopians have a sitting representative, not even he's a full-fledged ambassador in Hargeisa, in Somaliland. So yeah, we're waiting. I don't know what's happened because I think the old ambassador from Ethiopia to Somaliland, he got reassigned to Kuwait. So I'm not sure if they've reassigned a new ambassador. I know Abiy Ahmed went through a reshuffle across the board. You know, the entire cabinet and government officials were all reshuffled. So I'm not sure who the new ambassador is. But for sure, yeah, information does get passed and traded through. There is a contact between, our, ambassador in both of our countries, respective countries. And you're absolutely right, by the way, Getachew. These people, these political Darodism that are shouting, are exactly the same as they. I'm glad that you've picked that up, like the TPLF. They were crying genocide when there was no genocide, right? They started the war, right? And they started the conflict, just like these lot did as well, the SSC lot, right? And then now they're claiming we want our own country after all of this, right? Just like the TPLF said that we want to, invoke Article, is it 56? What was the one that the Meles Zenawi included?
Yeah, I believe 37, yeah.
37, Article 37, which allows for secession in Ethiopia. We don't have such clause in the Somaliland constitution. There is no such space for secessionism, right, in Somaliland, just like there wouldn't be in England, right? In England, you can't have secessionism. London can't just secede from the rest of England, right? But can Scotland secede from England? Yes, because Scotland and England are two separate countries that formed a union some 250, 300 years ago, I think in the late 18th century, right? So certainly, yes, the Scottish can secede, right, from, it won't be a succession, by the way, because it won't be like a succession like South Sudan seceding from Ethiopia, main Sudan, but it will be just kind of a resignation, a separation, so to speak, and they did have a referendum in Scotland. So there's a lot of parallels between these TPLF and these SSCs. I'd be interested if you could pay attention more, Getachew, and see for yourself. You'll be surprised the relationship. They're very similar in terms of culture, in terms of ideology, in terms of their conduct and their behavior, in what they believe, in how merciless they will do what they need to do. We've seen how the TPLF committed a lot of crimes when they were in power. We saw that, unfortunately. We saw the same thing with Siad Barre regime. You know what I mean? So there is a lot of parallels and similarities between this political Darodism, which is based on the Darod clan, the superiority of the Darod clans above anyone else, and the TPLF. So, and I just wanted to ask you a question, Getachew. I don't know if I misunderstood you, but did you say there was a link between the TPLF and what's going on in Las Anod, like, the old regime, and what's going on, or did I misunderstand you? Because this conflict, by the way, was something happening for a while. It's not new.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's a link, but in the past, when Siad Barre was, decided to invade Ethiopia and massacre in Somaliland, he had a link with the TPLF, the Shabia, and all the anti-Ethiopia elements back in the days. And, the same, like, we should be alert that the same stuff can't happen, like, so that history can't repeat itself again, And that's what I was, very concerned about. Me personally, a month ago or so, before the Las Anod situation, I stepped back from, Somaliland and Somalia politics. I didn't want to get involved anymore because I was like, you know what? It's a self, it's a self-declared nation. It's functioning perfectly. Nothing is wrong with it. And independence, recognition can come at any time. So I was like, it's good. I'm gonna stay out of it, right? But then when they attacked, that's when I was like, okay. And then I saw these like similar events happening, and I was like, no way, no way that this is gonna happen again in the Horn. You know, that's why I'm standing with Somaliland. That I don't want this type of stuff to repeat again. It's just stupid, innocent lives lost. Unnecessary war. That's why I'm standing with Somaliland. And I have a question for you, though, Dr. IQ, and this might be a little bit of a radical question. And yeah, I was asking also some other people in other spaces there, earlier. The Horn is a place of war, a place of instability, and you have these actors who keep coming up and ignite war, and instead of helping us to get out of poverty, they're helping poverty to prevail, right? Which is very unfortunate. Even though we're already poor, they want us, to be poorer, more even poorer, because they just want to have the power and influence, which is very unfortunate because a lot of innocent life gets lost. And now my question is, IQ, nurture is very important. When you grow up, you should be educated, and I believe that's the responsibility of our mothers and our fathers. They provide, right? This is how it goes, mostly in the West and always in our nations. Are our mothers doing a bad job at nurturing us? Is it the responsibility of our mothers and our lack of like bringing turning us like nice human beings, or at least well-behaved people that don't want war but want to live in peace? Is it just bad nurturing from our mothers, Dr. IQ? Is that why the Horn is so messed up? Does that make sense, Dr. IQ? What I just asked.
Yeah, it does. Interesting question. Look, I don't see this. So look at what's happening in Somaliland, right? If I bring it back to what's going on, Somalilanders, for the most part, again, that's the people that even live in the eastern part, the western part, or whatever, right? We all share culture for the most part, right? Somalilanders are very civil, we're very peace-loving, democratic people, and that goes back for thousands of years. Even before the idea of democracy was a thing in the Western world, in the modern world, even we've been democratic people, even during the days of pastoralism. We've always resolved our issues, and that's why we are the way we are as Somalilanders across the board, from the east of the country to the west, right? And that's because there is a thing in our culture, in our psyche, in our way of being and the way we do things, and it's largely influenced as well also by our religion, amongst other things. But the culture plays a unique part. Take Somalia. They are also Somalis. They speak Somali. They're also Muslims, but they don't share culture with us. We don't share that culture with Somalia, even though we're Somalis, right? We share similarities with our other brothers in Ethiopia, peace-loving people. The vast majority of Ethiopians that are peace-loving, and again, where does that come from? It comes from a sense of like your identity, and entrenched in history, right, so to speak. It's not something that's just come about recently in the last 100 years, or whatever. We've always been like this. And the same thing, right? So the question has to be asked, where are these conflicts coming from? So if you take, for example, in the Horn of Africa, if TPLF was not in power, for example, for some odd reason, imagine TPLF never got into power, maybe there wouldn't have been this issue between Ethiopia and Eritrea, because ever since Eritrea, became a country, it was always in, having wars, obviously, with its neighbors and other countries and stuff like that, right? But, there will be a time when there will be no more war between Eritrea and Ethiopia, right? And I think now is the start of that new future. The TPLF are out of office. There's no, border disputes. The border is fully demarcated, and there should be no more issues. Hopefully, and we hope. Same now. Look in Somalia. Somalia at the moment, again, Somalis, right? We are having a problem with them, but they're also a problem to Somalia, Ethiopia. You know, terrorism, piracy, subversion, political chaos, killings. Like it's a chaos, right? It's a zoo over there, right? And again, that can't be something that the international community, no matter how much billions of dollars of like donor funds and aid, international aid money, that can fix that problem overnight. You can't do that, right? So a lot of the problems that stems in Somalia, for example, is a unique problem. Somalia has, again, is still suffering with the remnants of what used to be called the political Darodism that I mentioned, which is the remnants of the Siad Barre regime. The people today that are calling for this war in the Somaliland, from Somalia, are largely a lot of the people that happen to be from this clan, the Kaan regime. We call the regime the Kaan regime, right? And they are the ones calling for it. Farmajo, he's from the same clan as Siad Barre. Same with Mustafa Akchab, right? Same with the Kenyan parliamentarian Farah Maalim. He also comes from the same tribe as Siad Barre, right? So there are certain elements in the society that are causing problems, right? And those things will take time, and it won't be something that can be gotten rid of over like 30, 40 years. Somalia needs to go through what Germany went through the end of the Second World War, through a process of de-radicalization. If Germany was left to its own devices after the Second World War, there would not be peace in Europe again. There wouldn't have been all this peace, right? Germany would have had another war. They would have claimed another land, another territory. Remember, Germany is not the only country that speaks Germany. There are 3 other countries in Europe that speak German, or Germanic-speaking countries, right? But because of the borders and the demarcations and whatnot, people respect the borders, right? Same thing. Why do we see the problem in Somalia that we have today and in the Horn as well? Is because Somalia has not gone through this process of de-radicalization, right? And that's what happens. We still got fascist elements, Nazi elements in right to the top of the senior members of governance. It's in their religious sphere, it's in their cultural sphere, it's in their political sphere, it's even in their business sphere, economic sphere. Big businesses are profiteering from terrorism. You know what I mean? So it's a complicated question. So it's not to do with about how our mothers raised us. And I know you want to say is it something that is to do with I don't know, is it the nature nurture? Look, some people are like this. Some people are created and they have this culture and this upbringing, and there is something to be said. But it's not something you can legislate for or kind of force upon people. Just like when the Americans said, we're going to preempt the war in Iraq and we're going to, spread democracy. You can't spread democracy. You know what I mean? These are not valid. You can't just take a Western concept and just, you know what I mean? Although I don't believe democracy is a Western concept, maybe the modern form of democracy probably is, but we've always been a democratic people, Somalilanders. Really, go and read our history for thousands of years, not just 100 years, thousands of years. Somalilanders have been democratic people, pastoral Democrats. We've always resolved things using, the clan system, sitting down with the elders. We have customary laws, where we resolve disputes. Somalia doesn't have these kind of cultures. These cultures are very alien to Somalia. So Somalia is going to take a while before we see any peace and stability, and so we have to be patient. And there could be other solutions, we will have to institute and see. Maybe Somalia cannot remain in the form that it is. We might have to do what happened, like in Yugoslavia, in Europe, in the 90s, where, the Balkanization, or the separation of the different regions of the Balkan-speaking people, that might have to happen in Somalia, so that we can get some peace and stability. You know what I mean? But yeah, for sure, it won't be something that will disappear overnight. And to answer your question in short, it is not about, whether our mothers taught us. It's about something that is inherent into, well, not in your DNA, but like your history, your psyche as well, right? So, yeah, I don't know if I've
like the culture, the entire culture.
Yeah, the culture for sure. The culture, exactly. It's not something to do with religion. Again, it's nothing to do with it's to do with the culture, the way you view life and how you see your place in this world, and how you want to live, in a plural society with people from different tribes and different religions and different beliefs. This comes, and so Somaliland has a very mature way of doing. That's how we have a very mature relationship with Ethiopia. Otherwise,
Maybe,
we would have went in
maybe,
and said,
doctor.
"Listen, I want to claim hold a reserve area." You know what I mean? Like, so yeah.
Maybe, Doctor IQ, our mothers should, start unlearn this culture. That's what I think, Doctor IQ. I think they should be mothers and show us that look, we have this culture, but it's not gonna get us, somewhere. And if that doesn't happen, it's gonna be like a vicious cycle, right, Doctor IQ? We're gonna still after 50 years, we're gonna keep coming back to this point, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, no, they need to address their issues. That is the problem. And so part of the problem that Somalia faces, in its political, social, economic sphere, all aspects of its society, right, is because it blames, it has this idea of the other person is the cause of my problems. And so Somalia does not look inwards, but rather always looks outwards for its solution. And so the solution always starts internal. You must start internal. You must look inwards. You must see who you are. How do you see yourself? How do you want to be in this world? How do you want to interact with the other segments and sectors of society, neighbors, right? Countries. And only then, once you've had that deep introspective look and analysis inwards, can you then come up with some solutions. But until then, it's not something that can be instituted by foreigners or foreign entities or foreign countries or foreign organizations. That must come within, right? Maybe they will need to ask themselves some serious questions. I think Eritrea is going through that process now where they're looking towards their future of, 30 years since they've been on this earth as a country. They've had a lot of problems, a lot of wars, a lot of instability, closed off from the rest of the world. And now Eritrea wants to look forward to this kind of, development. It wants to look towards, progression. It wants to look towards, achieving some sort of success now, to be some meaningful state. Not to be considered as like the North Korea of the Horn of Africa. You know what I mean? So, yeah. And same for Ethiopia. Ethiopia has its own challenges internal that it needs to deal with and address and find solutions if it wants to exist, long term in the future as well. So, yeah, there are a lot of things that will need to be, but we will always have troublemakers. We will always have problem people that will always kind of increase, violence and chaos and that kind of things because they profit from it. It's profiteering. It's financially viable. You know what I mean? So, but inshallah there will be some peace. By the way, I can see Ahmed is in the house as well. Ato Ahmed, is there a reason why he's not come up to the speakers? Is he still...
Yeah. I was so guys, I have to try apologize because apparently it was another account that was blocked. So he was not blocked on this account. I think he's just being very busy. That's what's up. So that's why. Okay, he was being very sneaky. He disappeared and then he was like, "Can you host a space?" And then he went away. But it's all good, Ato Ahmed. I got your back. Doctor, I was fortunate enough to have Dr. IQ here with me, and we had a nice conversation. Dr. IQ, I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I appreciate what you do for Somaliland, and help us inform what's going on because the mainstream media is not going to do for us. We're happy that you guys are gonna put out the real news, right, and keep fighting bravely the fake news because that's what Ethiopia had to do for the last 2 years, and we are always next to our neighbors to help sharing that information and what's going on really, because we know exactly how that feels. We know exactly how when people look down on you while you didn't do nothing feels, and therefore you will have my full support, and so do other Ethiopians like Scarecrow and all of them. They will be there for you guys as well. So I'm not. This is gonna be my last week holding spaces. Because I know that this is just the space thing for me is not good. It makes me less productive. I journal. I do every day. I do a little bit of journaling, and I've seen that I have to cut that out. But I will join the Somaliland spaces for sure. I will listen, but I will not speak. Sometimes I will join. So that's and yeah, that's with the information for today. Unless somebody else wants to come up and speak, I will have to finalize this space. Bermondsey Joe, how are you doing, my
I'm
man?
good. I'm good. How
You
are you,
good?
man?
You still? We're doing fantastic, brother, man. Just closing the space. Unfortunately, you didn't co-host with me. You ran away, but it's okay. I'll
I
forgive
didn't
you.
want to
Okay.
disrupt it. I didn't want to cause mayhem.
No problem. No problem. Scott Loki, always pleasure to have you in my spaces as well. LLTG, everybody else, Atul Ahmed, everybody who's in this space, Big Apti, everybody. Thank you. Take care. Stay brave. Don't stop the fight. We are by your side whenever you need help. I will help as well as much as I can by retweeting and tweeting. Don't let the fake news win. All right. Take care of you guys and have a blessed evening or day, depending where you are. Take care. Thank you.